Hello, Mr. Hoy here with another story for you. This story is taken from the Frog and Toad Treasury, and it is called The Garden by Arnold Lobel. Arnold Lobel wrote the story, and he drew the pictures and colored them in. He did everything for the book, and he's written a lot of great books, so seek him out if you'd like to read more by him. And he wrote many Frog and Toad. They're one of his most popular groups of characters, Frog and Toad. So when I read a story, I like to think about what I'm going to read. So let's look at the title, The Garden. Chances are we're going to be reading about a garden. They called it The Garden. So let's think about what a garden means to us. Think about what you already know in your head, in your brain, about a garden. I know a lot about a garden, but I was a kid, and now I'm a grown-up, so I've had lots and lots of years to learn about a garden. But I'm sure you know something about a garden, so let's think about it together. One thing we know about a garden is, where would we find a garden? We could find a garden in the backyard, right? Sometimes people have gardens, a whole bunch of gardens together. I've seen that before, where people have a special place that they go to garden because they don't have a backyard, and they have a certain spot that's theirs, and they share it with other people. But when you're thinking about a garden, what's something that you could grow in a garden? You could grow, of course, flowers. Flowers grow in a garden. But also, when I go to the supermarket store and I have my cart and I'm going down, like usually the very beginning of the supermarket, there's the produce section, and that has like bananas and carrots and celery and broccoli and lettuce and tomatoes and grapes. All these things are what? Yes, fruits and vegetables. And these fruits and vegetables come from a garden or from a farm, but the same kind of principle, and they're grown. So how do we grow them? So when I eat an apple, I take a bite. I take another bite. And in the center of it, I see these little tiny things. You don't want to eat them because you're not supposed to eat them. And those are called what? They're called. It's on the tip of my tongue. Yes, seeds. So seeds go in the garden. But how do we plant these seeds? So you have to move the dirt, and then you put the seed in, and then you put the dirt back on top, and then you need two major things for your plants to grow, and that would be, they come from the sky, both of them. One of them is a huge, bright ball that you try to look at it and you can't. You have to quickly, like if I try to look at it, I'm like, oh, it's too bright. Even with sunglasses, it's not good to look at it. Right, the sun. Now, sun gives the light, and then the other thing that you see in the sky, sometimes you'll be looking up and you'll say, oh, wow, look at that. That looks like an elephant. That one looks like a giraffe. Oh, there's Mr. Peterson. And that one looks like a duck. I see a lot of ducks, actually, in these things. And they change and they move from the wind and everything like that. Do you know what that's called? Clouds, yes. So from the clouds, they get heavy, they get dark, and what comes out of the clouds? It's precipitation. It's called rain. Right. So you need light and you need water for your plants to grow. Those are two major things that you need. And one thing I will tell you is, how fast does a garden grow? Do you like put the plant seed in there and plant it and like, ta-da, it's there? No, it takes a while, right? It takes a while. So that's one of the things that our character Toad is having trouble dealing with. He doesn't understand that it's going to take a while to get the results that he wants. He wants to see it right away. It's not like with the magic beans. Jack throws them out the window. His mom throws them out the window and says, "These beans are useless." And then, like, ta-da! You have a beanstalk, and you can climb up and get the golden harp and all that stuff. It's not as It's not as fast as that. Okay, so let's see what Toad does to cope with this. Okay, so The Garden by Arnold Lobel. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. "What a fine garden you have, Frog," he said. "Yes," said Frog, "it is very nice, but it was hard work." "I wish I had a garden," said Toad. "Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground," said Frog. "Then you will have a garden." "How soon?" asked Toad. "Quite soon." There you go. Sorry. So Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds, and he said, "Now, seeds, start growing." Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, "Now, seeds, start growing." Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head very close to the ground and he shouted, "Now, seeds, start growing." Frog came running up the path. "What is all this noise?" he asked. "My seeds will not grow," said Toad. "You are shouting too much," said Frog. "These poor seeds are afraid to grow." "My seeds are afraid to grow?" asked Toad. "Of course," said Frog. "Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them, let the rain fall on them, and then soon your seeds will start to grow." So there we go. Sunlight, rain, those two things, and they'll start to grow. But that night, Toad looked out of his window. "Drat," said Toad. "My seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark." Toad went out to his garden with some candles. "I will read the seeds a story," said Toad. "Then they will not be afraid." So Toad read a long story to his seeds. All the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds, and all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds, and all the next day, Toad played music for his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. "What shall I do?" cried Toad. "These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world." Then Toad felt very tired, and he fell asleep. "Toad, Toad, wake up," said Frog. "Look at your garden." Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. "At last! My seeds have stopped being afraid to grow." "And now you will have a nice garden too," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad, "but you were right, Frog. It was very hard work." Okay. So see, it took a couple days. It's not instantaneous. And Toad was a little excited about it. And when you're excited about something, it can be it can seem like it's taking forever. Like I can tell you right now, when I was a kid, and I'm sure you do this too, we would go to like the shore, or we would go to my grandparents' house, someplace that we really like to go, or even the mall or something. But whenever we would get in that car, the minute we turned around the corner, we'd ask, "Are you there yet? Are we there yet? Sorry, are we there yet?" And we'd always be told, "Not yet, not yet." And it really didn't take long, but I bet it felt like it took long to our parents, because when you continually say that, it makes the time go by a little bit slower. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that story. Again, Arnold Lobel, he's a great author and illustrator, and seek out more stories by him. And keep checking back with me. I've got more stories to share, okay? Have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves. All right, bye.